Hey, beautiful people. It's Gwendolyn Young here from your virtual admin expert, and welcome to Leading Behind the Scene, your weekly dose of inspiration to equip you to excel in business and life. Real quick, I want to share with you about the Mastering Your Success Mastermind for Women CEOs. The Mastering Your Success Mastermind is for women entrepreneurs who have been in business less than 5 years. You are looking for clarity around your next steps to crush your goals, tools, and strategies on how to systematically grow your business, accountability to keep you from procrastinating yourself to death, opportunities to brainstorm with a seasoned coach, time to work on implementation and execution, and connect with a tribe of like-minded women just like you, then I am talking to you. This small group mastermind and implementation incubator was created for women just like you. So I encourage you to go over to masteringyoursuccessmastermind.com and get your application in for consideration, and do it now because we have got some great pricing going on right now. So the holidays are upon us, and I know for me personally, feelings of my aunt's loss has been heavy this holiday season. So I wanted to talk openly about coping with grief, especially as entrepreneurs, because we need to not only give ourselves a space to grieve, but we also have to think about keeping our businesses running also at the same time. So I am super glad to be talking about coping with grief this month with some amazing friends of mine. And today I'm chatting with my friend Latasha Matthews.
Hey
Say
y'all.
hey, Latasha, to the people.
Hey y'all.
So let me tell you how fabulous Latasha is, right? She is known as America's emotional wellness expert. She is the co-founder of Pieces That Fit Incorporated and the CEO and clinical director of Illumination Counseling and Coaching LLC. She is well versed in providing individual, couples, adolescents, and family therapy techniques with 15 years experience as a licensed professional life coach and speaker. She utilizes a family systems approach, which considers how a particular system impacts an individual person, organization, or situation. Latasha is an advocate for emotional wellness and balance and the author of Amazon's bestseller, The Dumping Ground. She has trained thousands of individuals globally on the importance of setting healthy boundaries, received numerous awards, written numerous article publications, and has been invited and been awarded hundreds of speaking opportunities for her advocacy work supporting health boundaries. So, as a seasoned professional counselor, Latasha is well equipped to talk to us today about grief. So, I'm super excited to just like dive right in. So, Tasha, you and I met about what, 6 years ago now?
No, honey, you are not giving us full credit. It's been 8 or 9 years. And
Oh
let
my
me
God,
tell
has it been
let,
that
let,
long?
let no, let me tell y'all, I was in one of her first masterminds, and let me tell you,
Yes,
she
that is
got me
so
right together.
true.
I was also, and she also helped me with my nonprofit. So this beautiful soul right here, if you are not signed up for the mastermind, she will get your business together. She will get your books together. I love her to pieces. So we have about 8 or 9 years. It's not six.
Oh my, I cannot believe it's been that long. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
feeling is mutual. Like, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I know over the last couple of years, I have like sucked at keeping in touch. But baby, she do not let me go MIA because she be like, I'm just checking on you and I'm still here if you need me. And I'll be like, oh, I know somebody in the world loves me, okay? I'm like, y'all can't tell me Tasha don't love me because she is always checking on a sister, and I love you for it. You know, especially like when I lost my aunt, like you were one of the first people that reached out, like, I'm here. You need that therapy session. I was like, yep, put my therapy sessions on hold because I'm probably gonna be needing them. I might not do nothing but call and cry, but hold that space for me. And so, gosh, I just cannot believe it's been that long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh. And I am so excited, right, to hear your thoughts on just coping with grief and how we as humans and especially entrepreneurs can cope better with it all. But first, tell me how you even got into Well, tell the people, because I know, tell the people how you got into the counseling and coaching profession. Like what led you here?
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about grief because grief comes in many different forms. One of the things that I noticed in my HR career, because I was in HR before counseling, I noticed that there were a lot of grieving people. People grieve the loss of not being connected. People can grieve the loss of expectations as it pertains to climbing the corporate ladder or being what they thought they were going to be. And so I'm glad we're talking about grief because grief is in every fabric of our being. And so I transitioned from HR to counseling, and the reason I am in counseling now is because of just that desire to help people understand all aspects of grief, how to navigate it, how to cope with it, but more than anything else, how to accept
Mm,
it because we all
that's
are
good.
going to experience it.
That's good. So let's talk a little bit about that. So how does grief really affect a person? Like, what are some of those things that we don't really consider when we have a loss?
Yes, so when you think about grief, because we are so fixated on um, the loss of a loved one, and that is the ultimate place of grief.
Hmm.
However, if we just think about this year, we just talk about 2020, just a little bit.
Uh,
And I can talk from my own experiences, grieving the things that I had on my to-do list, or
mm,
grieving the unmet needs. There's so many little things that we miss as it pertains to grief. And one of the first signs that you're grieving is that you it shows up in your body, first of all. So you think that you have that headache or that stomach ache or that eye twitching, or you think you slept wrong. Grief kind of manifests itself in different aspects of your body. And one of the
wow.
reasons we're unable to connect that it's grief is because we're not slowing down enough to really listen to what our body is saying. So if I had to say one thing to your listeners, I would say begin to listen to your body because it is trying to speak to you. Sometimes it's screaming, sometimes it's crying, sometimes it's shaking you, but listen to your body.
Wow. Now, you said something that was super important, right? We sometimes focus on just the loss of a loved one, which we know is like the ultimate grief.
Yes.
But it's so true that there are other things along the way that you grieve that you don't even realize, right? Because you've lost some things, but we don't really take the time to grieve them. I think about things like, as an entrepreneur, when you thought your business was going to be one way and then something happens and you have to completely pivot. And I'm sure everybody this year has probably experienced some form of having to pivot. And that's huge, right? Because it's like, what am I going to do? Especially for businesses who where their business was entirely like physical based or in
Yes.
person based, and now they had to change and do everything virtually. That's huge. Sometimes it could be divorce, right? You're
Mhm.
grieving the loss of family or a marriage that you thought was going to be whatever at some point. And all of those things show up in other areas of your life. One of the things I always say is if we don't deal with whatever the thing is, even though it may not be directly related to your business, it's going to show up there anyway.
Show up there.
So
Yes.
you got to deal with it. So I think that's a very good distinction for people to realize that it's not just a loss of a person, it could be a loss of a thing, it could be a loss of an event, like just whatever, but allow yourself to feel that. And I'm glad you said that because I will pay closer attention to my body now because I have those moments where I'm just like, everything is, I'm like, what is this? I can't get rid of this. I don't feel like I'm stressed about anything, but I can't really pinpoint like, where is this coming from? So, what are some other signs to look for?
Some other signs to look for as it pertains to grief is, well, first of all, before you look for signs, you need to really just look at your calendar. I think you and I talked a little bit before the
We
show.
did.
Familiar dates bring grief. The
Ooh.
anniversary of a thing, um, the smell of a thing,
Wow.
um, a song, a,
Mhm.
this top could cause grief. So it's not just about what you feel in your body, it's just you connecting, being connected with dates,
Wow.
time, smell, all of those things can trigger a grieving moment. And again, I go back to what I said at the beginning. It's going to happen. We just have to have some acceptance about it. So a sign could be it's fall. For me, I'll give you an example. And you may not know this. I may have shared this years ago. I grieve around Thanksgiving and Christmas because in my mind there was an expectation that I would have a husband,
Yep.
3 kids, in a white picket fence, and I
Yep.
would be decorating my home.
I remember us
So
having that conversation.
at the end of November, October, I normally get really unmotivated. That's a sign. I sleep a lot. I am not a sleeper. So when I'm laying around, there is a problem.
Yeah, honey,
You
because you be
begin to,
up at 5:30 a.m. talking about we going to play tennis and about to run in the park, and I'll be like, girl, gone, because I'm finna turn over. But I see you.
exactly. So all of that shifts for me in the fall and the winter. And so what I have to do is prepare for that. Now, I don't have to give it a whole bunch of power, but I do have to recognize and accept that there were some needs and there were some expectations that have not been realized. And so, as entrepreneurs, that is going to impact our business. So, if I am laying around, stunned and crying, I am not seeing clients, I am not speaking, I am not writing a book. I can't even sit in front of a book. I can't put a schedule together. So you just have to recognize some of the things and be honest about some of the things that you had a desire to have that you don't.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so good. I don't think I've ever thought about grief in that way. And that just makes so much sense. So, what are some important things to remember after a loss?
It's important. Some important things to remember is that although your body and your mind tells you you are alone, you are not alone. So if you find yourself kind of closing in and withdrawing and isolating, um, there's a tribe of individuals that you need to reach out to. Excuse me. You can reach out and say, I don't want to be bothered with you, but keep reaching out to me. So first thing, you're not alone. The second thing that you want to consider is that there are stages to grief. And so you
Mhm.
want to identify what stage you're in so you won't begin to be critical of yourself if you are in denial and shock longer than others may think you should be. So understanding some of the stages of grief, Gwen, is very important.
I think that's super important too, because I remember when my aunt passed, like I couldn't function really. Like I was going through day to day, but it was just like, and then 30 days later, I'm thinking, okay, girl, you should be able to like get your mojo back and go, and I'm sitting in a therapy session and my therapist is like, you're grieving. And I'm like, but it's been a month. And she's like, okay, and what does that mean? I'm like, well, shouldn't I be like able to like kind of pick up? And she was like, maybe not. Like, why is it the expectation that you think you should just be? I'm like, because I feel like I should just be, I'm an overachiever anyway, so I feel like you do a thing and then you should be able to move on. But this was just like a Mack truck, and it was a few months before I could even just really like get back to normal, like a new normal. But I was still having bouts of like somebody would say something and I would just like fall to pieces.
Sure.
What is that about?
you know, it's you living out the human experience of loving another individual. So there is a price that we pay to love. So there is a risk that we take to do this love thing that God has equipped us for. And so what you're talking about is the human experience. And so what we want to do is push the human experience away and be robotic. Uh, and we know that God has not created us like that. And so what I heard you say in your illustration of what's going on with you is you used a lot of shoulds. Should, your cousin should, your cousin ought to, didn't do. All of them need to be packed up and sent on a long trip, because what happens with all of those shoulds is that we place demands on us that are not true to our experience. Wow. And you mean to tell me this woman that, you know, blessed you in so many areas of your life, you then tell yourself that after 30 days, all of that love she gave you and all of that love you gave her should go away? That's a whole fat lie.
Wow. I never even thought about it like that. Wow.
But what it shows, Gwen, is that we would prefer to deny the pain, push it away, instead of experiencing all aspects of it. Because if we are blessed to experience pain, we're also blessed to experience love. So we have to ask ourselves, do we want the love without the pain? You would not trade any of your memories and what she taught you and what y'all said together.
Not a one.
Not a one. So we all have to go down that journey, and we get the benefit of experiencing love and pain.
Wow. Listen, y'all, I didn't know I was gonna have a therapy session today. Okay. That ain't how that was supposed to play out. Woo! But that was good. That was good. I hope y'all caught that. So tell me, have you ever had a loss while running your business, like while running your practice? Have you ever had a loss that you had to cope with?
Yes. Yeah, I can just pull one out of the hat. I've had a lot of loss regarding my expectations of people, because people will cause you to grieve.
I don't know.
I know you. I know you don't.
Baby, we gonna come back for a part 2 on that part.
Just having this major vision, you know, that Gwendolyn helped me create, and then entrusting individuals with that vision and them not taking it seriously. You know, you put your last quarter in. You know how it was. You put your last quarter in, you paid a financial person to manage your finances, you entrust someone, you interview, you do all the things.
All the things.
And then that person changes their mind or cuts a fool in your business. And then you're left disappointed, sad, out of money. That is a whole grief experience. And then what it does is it sets up a traumatic response to anybody else who comes after that person, because then you're too rigid, your boundaries are too tight, you don't want to do it. It's something that we have to accept and seek help for. I know you understand, Gwen.
Ooh, honey, we've had many conversations about that, and we've had many experiences about that. And I think what people don't realize is that can sometimes be even more traumatic than an actual loss of, like, a death of somebody. Because you like replay that and replay that and replay that and girl, like that thing is that's so heavy. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you reminded people of that, because I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we think like, it's like, oh, well, I'll just move on. But you're moving on with all that stuff just sitting, and you're moving, but you're not realizing how much that is still weighing you down.
Yeah, and then, you know, I'll piggyback on that. You know, if someone passes on, you're not seeing that person anymore. You're looking at pictures. But when that person that you entrusted with your business steals from your company, you still get to see them floating around on social media. They're using your skills and all of your good juices that you gave them. And so
all your ideas.
well, you see it on somebody's flow chart, you see it floating around, your same words, your same quotes. You gotta seek help for it, people, because
Girl, you
that
got
is
to
re-traumatized every
over
time
and
it's on
over and
Instagram.
over again. Yes. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that. So tell me, how can we cope with grief in a healthy way?
Definitely, if you are not open to having the support and resources that you need to tap into any type of grief support, individual therapy, and just making sure that you're staying connected with the tribe that God has assigned to you. Making sure that you, again, listen to your body is speaking to you. And then knowing that grief is a natural part of life. Even if we put ourselves in situations that cause grief, it's a natural part of life. I think the other thing that help you cope with grief is thinking about all of the other times that you made it through grieving situations. I know we talked about in the beginning, looking at grief a little differently lets you know that you have the capacity to cope with grief, because you coped with grief when you got discriminated against at that last job. You coped with grief when you ended up in that relationship with someone who lied and cheated, or whatever the case may be. So you have the ability to handle grief. So it could be for some using prayer and talking to God about how you feel. For others, it's going to be individual therapy. For others, you're going to set better boundaries. That is a huge coping strategy for grief. You make better decisions, you set better boundaries, and you're not putting yourself in grieving situations.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, is there any last words you want to say to the beautiful people out there before we go?
Yes. So we are wrapping up this 2020, and we have had a lot of loss. Making sure around the holidays, because of the pandemic and all that we're experiencing, people are not able to connect in the way that they would normally connect. Making sure you tap into any local resources in your city or state if you are feeling um, like you are unable to handle some of your emotions. Do not stay in that house alone. If you need to call 911 or any crisis line to make sure that you have support, make sure you do it. Just don't be alone, and just know that there's resources out there for grief.
I love it. So, Latasha, thank you so much for taking time with me today. I so appreciate you. I so love you.
I love you too.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful people, thank you so much for joining us. For those who will be coping with grief this holiday season, our prayers are with you. I hope that tonight has given you some more tangible things you can do to take care of yourself and prepare yourself for this season. I love it if you would hit like, hit love, share it with anybody else that you think might enjoy it or could benefit from it. And be sure to leave us a comment and tell us what your key takeaway was. If you have any questions, any tips, experiences you want to share, put them in the comments. I love to read them and respond to them. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Your Admin Expert, and subscribe to the email list on the website at yourvirtualadminexpert.com for even more tips, tools, and strategies. Latasha, tell the beautiful people how they can connect with you and where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me at latashamatthews.com, Illumination CC, and TMAT Speak on Instagram. I would love to connect with you all and give you more tips on grief and other topics boundary related. Thank you so much.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. And I will see you next week for another segment of Leading Behind the Scene.